protecting the rights, promoting the welfare, and expanding opportunities for overseas Filipinos. Here in the Philippines, there is a law for Filipinos that going abroad for their safety. Migrant Workers Act of 1995 RA 8040 to an act to institute the policies of overseas employment and establish a higher standard of protection and promotion of the welfare of migrant workers, their families and overseas Filipinos in distress, and for other purposes. With each passing year, many Filipinos are forced to go abroad because of the high wages they want. According to CNN, more than 2.2 million Filipinos worked overseas in 2019. The top 5 destinations were in Asia and the Middle East. 10 countries with the most number of jobs for Filipinos. 1. Saudi Arabia with 72,316 jobs. 2. Qatar with 10,146 jobs. 3. Kuwait with 5,396 jobs. 4. United Arab Emirates with 5,037. 5. Australia with 2,576 jobs. 6. Oman with 2,053 jobs. 7. United Kingdom with 1,914 jobs. 8. Bahrain with 1,571 jobs. 9. Angola with 994 jobs. 10. Brunei 918 jobs. The Overseas Filipino Worker OFF is a word that is frequently used to refer to Filipino migrant workers who are citizens of the Philippines but work in another nation for a limited time. Another 80-90 choose to permanently transfer to another country, mainly to the US and Canada. Filipino overseas send annual remittances equivalent to 10% of Philippines' GDP. This picture shows the overseas Filipino workers' deployment and land-based, 2011 to 2019. This picture shows the overseas Filipino workers' deployment by different destination country at the year 2019. Protecting overseas Filipinos' right and improving their well-being. Enhance government support for repatriated and displaced overseas Filipino workers. Displaced migration workers, the government must ensure that all affected overseas Filipino, especially overseas Filipino workers, are provided adequate assistance to overcome the crisis. Enhance health insurance and social security for overseas Filipino workers. The operating funds of migration serving agencies will be augmented to facilitate welfare and health-related, including mental health program and emergency response at posts. Strengthen bilateral and regional TIs. Negotiation of bilateral labor agreement with migrant-receiving countries will be intensified. Facilitate effective service delivery to overseas Filipinos. Deploying mobile government representatives' office overseas will improve the provision of basic service to overseas Filipinos. Provide sufficient assistance to national service. Additional plantilla position and foreign service posts, especially in high-risk countries and in countries with high level of undocumented overseas Filipinos, will have prioritized. Enhance education of overseas Filipinos in IMD. The pre-employment, pre-departure, and post-arrival orientation seminar will be improved in terms of conduct and content. Strengthen measures to protect overseas Filipinos against human trafficking and exploitation. Trafficking and illegal recruitment scheme will abated with effective use technology-enabled platform for information dissemination. Improve mechanism to monitor the socioeconomic and political condition of overseas Filipinos. Existing mechanism to monitor the conditions of overseas Filipinos, such as ATN mapping and connection with Filipino communities, will be complemented by mechanism to facilitate regular gathering to enable embassies to check the status of overseas Filipinos, particular overseas Filipino workers, on a regular basis. Reduce pre-departure cost. Technology-enabled platforms such as online payment system will be enhanced to address the requirement payment in bulk. Strengthen engagement of overseas Filipinos' families and other stakeholder in governance. Mainstream migration in local development planning. The government will facilitate the inclusion of program or projects for repatriated overseas Filipino workers in the rehabilitation and recovery plans local government units. Increase overseas voter turnout. More strategy location of overseas registration centers abroad will be explored.